Hello, this is Double SC2 coming at you to cast another game of Starcraft 2, and I'm pretty excited to be here because this will be the very first game of Starcraft 2 I actually get to commentate. I love Starcraft 2. It is an amazing game, and I've been a long-time fan of Blizzard Gaming in its entirety. I was a huge World of Warcraft fan ever since the very beginning. I have over 300 days playtime on it, and I am an addict of anything Blizzard. And when Starcraft 2 came out, I hopped in that bandwagon and watched non-stop videos. I'm actually a huge fan of Day 9 of Husky and HD. They bring you quality games and they are just plain amazing. And they are pretty much what inspired me to do this because they cast so many games, but you know what? I can just watch them so fast, and I needed more and more games to watch, so I started watching my own replays that I found and maybe thought I could do a little bit commentating myself so the public could have more and more games to watch, because can you truly ever have too much StarCraft 2 to watch? I think not. Well, enough about myself right now. Let's jump into the game and see what's going on. In our right hand corner, as the red Protoss, is EGJYP. And in the left corner is our blue Protoss, AcerElfi. If you're not familiar with AcerElfi, he was an undead player back in Warcraft 3, and he switched to StarCraft 2 with some pretty great fame, and has been working it ever since. He is one of the lesser knowns, but he is an amazing Protoss player. And if we go over to EGJYP, he is a Korean player on the team Evil Geniuses, who represents some of amazing players such as Idra and Husky, and he will show you why he is a part of one of the most amazing StarCraft 2 teams out there. Just a little tell you about a little bit Protoss versus Protoss. Protoss versus Protoss is a mirror matchup, so a lot of people are kind of don't like it, but I personally like it because it's one base versus one base in the entire time. Pretty much you rarely see an expand, and you get to see a lot of micro. Micro is one of my favorite parts about this game because it shows a true player's skill. When you try and use one unit versus one unit or 200 units, how people control that many units at a time amazes me. And as we can see, this little micro right here from this little probe is just messing with them just a little bit, and you know what, being able to do that is a lot more detrimental than you think, because you have to pull a probe off just for a second. That delays mining. Even if it delays mining for that second, in professional games it means that much. And I think the probe just went down. Poor probe, did its job, did some scouting, but could not maneuver fast enough, and it looks like Elfi is actually going to get his probe out, so that's a slight win, I guess you could say, in the long run. I mean, that's 50 minerals and one more probe that you can live longer, and he's going to bring him back home to safety so he can live to fight another day. And to continue to look into the match, it's a very similar mirror match. Watching that Zelot checking for any pylons, maybe a cannon rush. You rarely see a cannon rush in this kind of game, but you never know. Might see a proxy pylon to warp in units. The warp tech is actually almost done right here, chrono boosting that out as much as they possibly can. That Zelot going to try and chase away that stalker. If Elfi's not careful here, he actually might lose this Stalker in this matchup. That would be a huge loss for Elfi in this type of in this beginning of the game. And we finally see some tech going down, a robotics bay for Elfi, and as well a robotics bay for EGJYP. It looks like Elfi got his robotics bay out so much quicker that this might actually give him a window of opportunity to do something. We could see so many things from that. We could see an observer, and then we could see some blink stalkers. We could see some immortal drops, warp prisms. There's so much things that can come out of that robotics bay. Just a bunch of immortals, just keeping that gateway tech. And it looks like we're going to have an observer out of that, trying to spot the tech of his opponent, which is always good. Scouting is the best thing you can possibly do, and it's very underestimated among the lower bracket people. They don't scout, but it really gives you the advantage in the game, being able to know what you have to do. And while we're waiting for a little bit more action, oh well, actually don't even have to wait for the action. We have a robotics bay coming down, some Colossus play. That's going to be fun. And then the opposite, we have just the opposite. We have the Twilight Council somewhere around there. A Twilight Council going down, so we're gonna see like Blink Stalker versus Colossus, and this could be very interesting because if you can snipe those Colossus with the Blink Stalkers, it makes them totally nullified. But the Colossus have just so much of advantage with that range if they can get it, and then with so much AoE, if EGJYP does not handle it carefully, he will be just in so much trouble. But it looks like this Observer will go down, and that's a huge loss, losing that, because you want to be able to use that Robotics Bay for something else besides the Observer, and that is that is a 40 seconds where he can't spend it warping out another Immortal or doing something else with that, so that is very detrimental. It looks like it's going to be mainly Stalkers for EGJYP, while the army of Elfi is a lot more different, like a very multitask of it, and it looks like we are researching Blink, have been for quite a bit, and that's going to be done. He's going across the map to get his Stalkers in place. That way he can maybe blink it to the main up here, take out a few pylons, or yeah, just harassment is there's so much harassment. This is where we're going to go around so he doesn't get sniped as well. That is some amazing pathing right there, making sure. If he's not too close though, where is the Observer? Oh, you can definitely tell Elfi is being a lot more careful with this Observer, making sure that it stays away from the other Observer of EGJYP, and it looks like this Observer will be doing its job, killing off a Stalker there. And he's going to be just harassing right now, but it looks like with 2 Immortals he'll be able to hold this off pretty easily. He'll just have to be able to be on quick watch. He might lose a pylon or two because of the Observer. Being able to see on that high ground is very beneficial, and it looks like we have an expansion out of EGJYP. This is very, very risky because an expansion does not usually pay off in a Protoss versus Protoss when it comes down to one base, because there is so much harassment in the early game that you never know. And we have a blink in to the main, and this should be cleaned up very easily. He got 2 pylons, supply blocked Elfi right there, so that was an amazing blink in and blink out, and I don't even think he lost 1 Stalker. He only lost 1 shield on those Stalkers, so that was an amazing blink in, and this Observer is really paying for himself right here with all the blinks ins, with being able to see on that high ground. It is so important, and you can see this proxy pylon right here just warping in units, and you can tell that Elfi is bringing back his Observer so we can finally kill that Observer that's been harassing him so much. Will he try and go for the gas here? Maybe go for... Nope, he's just going to back out again. If EGJYP is not careful, he is going to lose that Observer, and you can tell that Elfi is being very careful with his down here, and making sure that he brings it back to his base the safest way he possibly can so he can take out his opponents. But it doesn't look like he actually has any Stalkers down here to be able to take out that. He has a Colossus on the way, though. If JYP is not careful here, the Colossus is going to come out and just totally destroy his units. He lost a Stalker in that attack, which was not worth it. He did not take out much of anything with that blink in. He took out a pylon, but that was it. For a Stalker for a pylon is not worth it whatsoever, and it looks like we have a Colossus out, and so that harassment is going to be completely done. That Observer was killed, and so was that poor little probe sitting down there, and so this blink in and blinking out is totally done for, and it looks like he'll have to retreat back to his base and allow Elfi to move out finally. That map presence was amazing though, and we see some charge being researched. Charge Zealots is an amazing counter to Colossus and can actually prevent them from beating too hard. It does take a little bit more micro, and it'll be a little bit more tricky, but it is a decent counter to the Colossus. We'll just have to see how this plays. It looks like we have a decent defense at home, but if these Blink Stalkers stay around across the map, this army could just move across. And it looks like Elfi supply blocked himself actually, or maybe these Blink Stalkers killed another pylon. There has been countless pylons being taken out after countless pylon, so he has been doing that very effectively, making sure that his mobility is good, and if these Stalkers are not careful, he will lose a lot of these Stalkers' lives right here. He took out 2 Stalkers right there and a Zealot, so that's a huge loss, and it hasn't even been a main battle for Elfi. This is look like he can just pick off the army one at a time if Elfi's not careful, and it looks like we're going to go up to the expand right here, and this is going to be a timing attack. 2 Colossus. This army is looking kind of scary right now for Elfi. if JYP is not careful, he will be taken down. And charge just finished, so that will be an advantage for him. But those Colossuses are looking so terrifying right now. Colossuses, kind of like a stutter right now. But these Colossuses, I said it again, are looking very terrifying, and they're going to take down this Nexus with ease, and there is nothing JYP can do about it. The army for Elfi is just looking so scary. And he just warped in a few pylons so he could warp in reinforcements. There's 3 right now. But it looks like these Blink Stalkers will come from the back. And he'll finally finish off this Nexus, which I never understood why he backed out in the first place. But it supply blocks JYP, and it looks like pylon after pylon is just getting taken out. This is a 2-prong attack from JYP, and it looks like he's just being sandwiched right now. But I don't think it's enough. His units are just being taken out by so much by those Colossus. It is ridiculous. The Colossus are just going to work with the AoE, taking out the Immortals one by one. Both Immortals fall down, and it looks like the Immortal count is completely gone, and I don't think JYP has enough to defend this. AcerElfi is continuing to warp in units, and it is just not looking good for JYP. He is going to take out that reinforcing pylon, so that's a plus. Just one more pylon falling down to these Stalkers. Some good blink micro right there, and continue production. But it looks like he's just going to walk into the main, take out some of these probes, and it is going to be like just destruction of his economy. Those sentries are going to go down so fast. The tickle cannon cannot actually do much against a Colossus. One Colossus finally does go down, but it looks like this Immortal is just going to wipe away the Stalker's life so easily, and it looks like the Zealots took out that last Immortal that he had. And there is the GG from JYP. That was an amazing game. It all came down to that Colossus tech. He got out his robotic space just a little bit sooner. He was able to take up to that Colossus, and it just goes to show you how amazing a Protoss versus Protoss game can be. Blink Stalkers versus Colossus, it can be tricky. It could have gone either way, and I guess the expand did not pay off in the long run. It was just too risky and got took out too fast. It was an amazing game, and I'm just glad to be able to cast that for you guys. Thank you for coming, and I hope to see you again.